Hi students, let's do some math. I want to do the problems that are new to the review from last year, and that's going to include all of these pretty much this first page and a few others. So looking at number 1, let's just get started right away. It says find the next 3 terms, and then write an explicit formula and find the 40th term. So let's do some work. I'm looking to find the pattern, and I see that the pattern is to add 9. So that would be 34, 43, 52. And I remember it's just like add 10, but then minus 1. Then the explicit formula is going to generate the next, it's going to help us find the 40th term. So the formula for that you want to have, and you probably want to write on your note card, is that an, which is any number in the sequence, is equal to the first term plus n minus 1 times d. So this is going to be like 39 times 9 plus negative 2. And I think it's easier for me to do 40 times 9 minus 9, because it's going to be 360 minus 9. So that's going to be 351, and then minus 2, 349. So put that in a different color, 349. And then how would I write that? So I'm kind of like out of space because I put the formula here. I would write that as a sub 40 is equal to 349. Nice. So number 2 is going to be the same way. I'll go back to purple for that. We're looking to see, okay, we're decreasing 2 to 9. It looks like we decreased by 3. Oh, yeah. So then 30, 27, and 24. Then we want to find that explicit formula. We'll do those in pink. That's going to be an. It always has that in the explicit formula. Our first term is 42 plus n minus 1 times negative 3. Oh, geez, I plugged the numbers into the first one. So what's the explicit form? Let me go back and change that. Instead of writing 40, I needed to write n, and then that's n equals. So now to do the work to find the 40th term, be 40 is equal to, we're plugging in 40, and I'm just going to use my calculator for this, and it's going to go like lightning speed. So I'm going to put 40 in here. So let's see, that's 39 times by 3, which is negative. And then I'm going to have a negative 117, add 42, and I get negative 75. Oh, we love our calculators. Okay, next one. Looks like we're adding 7. So that's a little bit harder to add with. Let's see, 26 plus 7, 33. Oh, and then 40, and then 47. Oh, we got lucky. Okay. Then our explicit formula is going to be an is equal to 5, the first term, plus the quantity n minus 1, times by, we were adding 7, so just 7. And then to find a 40, I'm going to use my calculator. I'm going to start here and do 39 times 7. So 39 times 7, it says that's 273. I'm going to add 5, and I'm getting 278. So good. Okay, so then for the next set of problems, we're doing totally different work. It says use the following points to write an equation in point slope form, slope intercept form, and standard form. well, hold on to your hats. That's going to require quite a bit of work. So let me actually zoom out a little bit. We want to write down some formulas, don't we? Yes, we do. And the formula we want to write down is going to be first point slope form. My hope is that you have slope intercept form memorized, but maybe you don't. So point slope form, that's going to be y minus k equals m x minus h. Slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And then standard form always has ABC in it. That's ax plus by equals c. And then just to find slope, that's going to be the change in y over the change in x. And I always do stacked slope. So I'm going to put 7, 0 here. These are the y values, these are the x. And to go from 2 to 0, I subtracted 2. To go from 5 to 7, I added 2. So my slope is equal to -2 over 2, which is -1. I'll find the slope for number 5 next. So 3 and 8. To go from 6 to 8, I added 2. To go from -1 to 3, I added 4. So my slope is 2 over 4, or 1/2. For 6, I'm going to put it down here, -2, -5. To go from 3 to -5, that's subtracting 8. To go from 0 to -2, that's subtracting -2. And a -2 divided by negative is a positive, so we're getting 4 as the slope there. So first we find the slope. Next we're going to use point slope form, because in that case we just need a coordinate and then we write down the slopes. M was equal to -1. So M, which we just found, and then the coordinate, we'll call this H and this K. And I'm just going to use the first one every time because I'm lazy. So this is going to be y minus 0 is equal to the slope. And then x minus the x value is 7. Done. Let's try number 5. Now I wanted to be using a pretty pink color. So here's my m. So that's going to be h, k, y minus the k value is 8 equals 1/2 x minus 3. Nice. Let's do number 6. Y, oh, h and k. So we switch the sign. It will be plus 5 equals 4. And then it will be x plus 2. We switch the sign. All right. Last, but oh, nope, not last. Next, we're going to find slope intercept form. So to do that, we start with point slope form and we distribute and solve for y. And we distribute. So that's going to say, oh, yes, y. I don't need to write -0, but for point slope form, you do. We have -x plus 7. That one was nice. For this one, I'm going to have 1/2 x. And then half of 3, I'm going to write that as -3 over 2. Then I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. As I add 8 over here, I'm going to change it to 16 over 2. 16 divided by 2 makes 8, so that's going to check out. And then these together, that's 16 minus 3. I'm going to get y equals 1/2 x plus 13 over 2, which I could also write as 6.5. And then for the next one, that's going to be y plus 5 equals 4x plus 8. This one's a little easier. And then I subtract 5 to get y equals 4x plus 3. And then our last part is to put these in standard form. So that's where A and B are whole numbers and they're on the same side of the equal sign together. So all I have to do here is add x, and I get x positive y equals 7. That's about as easy as it gets. For this next one with a denominator, we multiply everything by the denominator. Here, here, here. And I get 2y equals x plus 13. And then I'm going to get that x to the other side. And that would be negative x plus 2y equals 13. Now, some books used to say x had to be positive. So if we wanted that, we would just change the sign on everything, giving me positive x, negative 2y equals negative 13. I think that's probably my favorite. And then the same thing would happen here. If we wanted to make it.
I want cereal for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, of course. I've got x and y together just with addition. And then that would be negative 4x. And this would be positive y, and this would be 3. So then I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1 to get positive 4x. Then that would change this to a negative y, and that would change this to a negative 3. Nice. So hopefully you remember a little bit of this. This is lines. I'm going to erase all this and move on to writing these equations in slope-intercept form, which means solving for y. Okay. And then we'll write those ones in standard form, just to isolate those smaller skills. So slope-intercept forms y equals mx plus b. So here's y. So order of operations says we have to solve for y. Presently, y is being multiplied by negative 2 and then added with 5x. So you have to go backwards from what's happening. So you have to get rid of 5x first because it's happening last. That gives me negative 2y equals negative 5x, and that's a positive 12. Then I divide all three by negative 2. And I get y equals 5 over 2x minus 6. That was fun. On this one, we have different steps. We'll need to get rid of the parentheses first, simplify that side, and then we'll add the 3. I can see that I'm going to have to add the 3 with a fraction, so I'm going to think of this as 9 over 3, just for fun. So that's going to be y equals 1/3 x plus 4/3, and then we had plus that 9/3. Together, these make 13. Interesting. That's our second 13 over 3 of the day.
I want my cereal for breakfast.
Okay. Get your quesadilla from the oven.
Okay.
And that's our answer. So then to write standard form, that means we need no fractions. And let me see. Okay, so to have no fractions, we'll need to multiply by the denominator, which is 4. What?
Daddy got me a little piece.
Yep.
I don't make little pieces.
And great. So the 4 canceled out, but the 7 and the y, they got multiplied by 4. So that's what we see. Then we add the 3x. And we got 3x plus 4y equals 28. And then number 10, we're just isolating that skill of moving this over. This is really nice. So we've got negative 2x, positive y equals negative 8. And then the preference is that this lead term would be positive. So changing all the signs gives me 2x minus y equals 8. And I do want you to be comfortable with changing all the signs in an equation because it's something that happens a lot. Let's move on to see if there's anything else from this page we need to do. So I have videos on 11 through 13. Those were formerly problems 47, 8, and 9. We don't have these graphs on the next page on any video. So let's graph the equation, find the x and y intercept, domain, and range. So because these are lines, I already know the domain and range. I can tell because they all have a slope. They're going to be negative infinity to infinity. Yes? You'll need to talk to daddy. The increasing and decreasing interval is going to match the slope in terms of the sign. Oh, you'll have to wait until I'm done. Okay, 10 more minutes. Go over there. Oh, 10 more minutes. So, for example, 14 has a negative slope. 10 minutes, not seconds. That will have a decreasing interval. 16 has a positive slope, so that will have an increasing interval. And 15 is in standard form, so we don't see the slope. But we definitely want to know how to graph all three forms of these lines. So for 14, this is in points form. The point is 5, negative 8. So I start by finding that location 5 and then negative 8. And then I count down 3 and over 2 and it's off the graph. So I'm going to go up 3 and then to the left 2. And there visually you can see the down 3 and over 2 just going in the other direction. And I'm just finishing that out and then I connect that with a line. And oh, isn't that great? Get it out of the dishwasher if you're going to be weird. And so this one is decreasing from negative infinity to infinity. The x-intercept and the y-intercept. Oh, dang. I didn't really find either of those by graphing, and I know that because I don't have a dot there. So that means I have to do the math. Well, let's do that math then. I'm just going to erase this so that I have space. In fact, I'm just going to erase everything and give myself a little bit more space to do this calculation. So remember the x-intercept is x comma 0, and then the y-intercept is 0 comma y. So the letter that it's saying is still in the answer. So to find the x-intercept, I plug in 0 for y. So that's going to be 8 is equal to negative 3/2 x minus 5. I'm not going to distribute that negative 3/2. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. And that's going to be multiplied by negative 2/3 times by negative 2/3. And the 3 and the 3 and the 2 and the 2, they cancel out, giving me negative 16/3 equals x minus 5. Now we're going to add 5, but I see the 3. So thinking of multiplying 5 by 3 gives me plus 15/3. And then 15 minus 16 gives me x is equal to negative 1/3. And hopefully that was what we saw in our picture. And so we would write that as negative 1/3 comma 0. Let me remember, we're at 5, negative 8, 7, 8. Yep, there it is. Yep, negative 1/3. Who would have guessed? And so I'm guessing my y value is going to be very similar. That one will be easier to compute. So that's going to be y plus 8 equals -3/2 times 0 minus 5. So that's the math. This inside the parentheses would be just -5. So I have a negative times the negative, which is a positive. That's going to be 3 times 5, 15 over 2. Oh, okay. You're on my arm when you do that. It makes my writing look sloppy. So we got positive 15 over 2. Then I subtract 8. 8 times 2 is 16, so minus 16 over 2. And that gives us -1/2. So 0, -1/2. And great. I don't remember what else they asked me to find. Oh, and that's it. So they are all going to have the domain and range of -infinity to infinity. So for graphing these, you might want to write a little note like to graph, start by plotting the point, switch the signs, whatever you think would be helpful. You can add anything like that to your note card. Let's look at number 15. So 15, I'm going to start this one by finding the x and y intercepts. So that's going to be x plus 2 times 0 equals 12. So we've got x equals 12, which is 12, 0. Then I'm going to find the other intercept. Next, cut it out. That is when I'm going to plug in 0 for x to get y.
Mommy said.
That's going to be 6. So I've got 0, 6. And I can plot 0, 6, but 12, 0 is off the graph. So let's quickly solve for y. That gives me that, and divide by 2. So I can see that my slope is -1/2. And then I'll count down 1/2 from here. And why does that matter? Well, the slope is negative. So that's going to tell me that I have a decreasing interval, not an increasing interval. So the decreasing interval is going to be -infinity to infinity. And domain and range are both -infinity to infinity. Okay, our last one on this section is going to be, oh, nice. Start at 9, go up 3 and over 1. Remember when it's a whole number, we have the denominator, this is up, and then this is to the right. And oh, did you see that? I just found the x-intercept. That tells me I don't have to do any math. I'm very happy about that. I mean, I don't have to do any calculations. Graphing is math. So then my x-intercept was 3, 0. My y-intercept was 0, -9. And then this one increases.
9 cents.
And the domain and the range are all -infinity to super fun.
Mommy. Mommy. Mommy.
Yes.
You know,
Okay. So then these problems.
Mommy, when are you gonna get the bowl and the milk?
A little bit later. 17 to 19, those are 71 to 73 on the review, older review videos.
Later, when it count, can you read it when it count to 10?
Count to 50.
Okay.
Okay, so then we just have to graph
2,
these
4,
two
5,
and then do
6,
28,
7, 8,
22 to
10,
28.
7, 4.
And then I'll need to do 37 to 41. and then everything else is on the other
Wait,
videos.
did you mean count to 15?
No.
No, I want to.
Paloma, go
count to-
ask Dad. Okay, go eat your regular food. You're interrupting me.
No, Mommy, he won't do it.
Okay. So let's start by graphing this first piece. This piece is only going to be graphed when x is less than or equal to -3. So -3 is here, and it's going to have a closed circle. So I'm going to think to myself, okay, I need to plug in the x value of -3 and then another value that's smaller than -3, such as -5. I'm going to plug those in as x here. 2 times -3 is -6. Minus 5 is -11. Okay. Then if I plug in -5, I'm getting -10 minus 5, which is -15. Oh. Those are off the graph. So that's going to be here and going this way. Okay. I kind of want to change this to make it so that it fits on the graph. So you might feel inclined to do something like that too. Let's change this to -1. Okay, let's see what happens then. So if it's -1, then we could include, okay, so we start there. That's where the boundary number is. You always plug in the boundary, and then we'll plug in -2. So that's going to give me -7, and then -9, -1 comma -7, and then -9. I just like that. Okay, then the next one, that next piece, we'll switch colors. This is going to have, again, we'll have to change that to -1. Open circle here, and then an open circle at +1. So it's going to be like a little barbell shape. This has no x, so that just means it's a horizontal line. The y values are always 4. So that part's done. And then let's do our last part. We'll do this one in orange. So again, okay, I see that it's a closed circle. It's going to start at 1. It's going to go to infinity. So I always plug in the boundary number, and then I'll just plug in another number that works, such as 2. So 1, that's going to be 4. And then 2 would be a -6, that'd be 1. So what's interesting is we have that coinciding point, the open and closed circle overlapping, and then yes, I see that down 3 and over 1. So like the inequalities that are x is greater than are always easier for me to graph because you can just find that first point and then use the slope. But going backwards for slope is sometimes tricky, like in this pink. So we graphed the piecewise function. That was beautiful. Let's try the next one. Here we've got -3 again. Okay, -3, open circle going this direction. And then the next piece here starts at -3 with a closed circle because it's underlined and goes the other direction. So these are both having a domain of all real numbers since no value is skipped over. And that's kind of nice. So again, I think it's easier for me to graph these purple ones. So I'm just going to plug in -3 to know where my closed circle goes. -3 times a negative, it's positive. So I'm getting 5. So I'm going to be at -3 for x, and then at 5 for y. And then for negative x, I know I just go down 1 and over 1. And that can go on for a long time. Then the next shape That one is a 2x plus 1. So that one I'm going to do over here, plugging in -3. It's going to be -6 plus 1, -5. Okay, so -3, -5, open circle. And then I want to go up 2 and over 1, but I'm going to go down 2 and backwards 1. So you could see I could also use my slope. And then I have to make sure that it looks like it's positive. Right? Positive slope points up, a negative slope points down. Right, so we did it. So use the graphing equation from number 21 to answer. So the domain is going to be -infinity to infinity. And while we're looking at it, let's find the range. The range is, so the arrows are pointing down, and then they stop at 4. So the range is -infinity until 4. The 4 is the location on the graph, so we use the hard bracket. I'm going to clear, well, let's see if I can just move this. Okay, the x-intercept we did not find by graphing, but we did find the y-intercept by graphing. And then increasing and decreasing. Okay. So the y-intercept is 0, 4. The x-intercept happened on that last piece. And let me see, what was the equation? That equation was the -3x plus 7. So that was the equation where it happened. So I'm going to say 0 equals -3x plus 7. Subtracting 7. Dividing by -3. I've got x is equal to 7 over 3, which is like 2 1/3, comma 0. Oops, I wrote this in the wrong spot. Increasing. Well, that has to do with positive slope. So the positive slope was that top part that I circled with black. That was the 2x, and we changed that to a 1. So that's going to be from increasing. So less than, so that's -infinity until -1. The -1, let me look, it has an underline, so we're going to put the hard bracket there, but we don't put a hard bracket on an infinity. Decreasing, that's when it has a negative slope. So that's going to be this domain space. So that starts at 1. I see that it also has the underline, so it's a hard bracket and goes to positive infinity. And then it was constant when it had a horizontal line, and that was from -1 to 1. And both of those values had open circles. So we have soft brackets on both of those. Is it continuous, meaning I could draw this without picking up my pen? No. Okay, maybe in a minute. Okay. And then I think that 30 might be our last one to do. I think this was on our other thing, but I can't recall. So -5 is less than -3. So that means we plug it into the first one. That would be -15. Oh, I see where this. To find f of 1, 1 only works for this last domain restriction. So I'll plug it in there. That would be 4. And 6 works for the last one. So they didn't ask me like f of 0, which is between -3 and 1. And that's going to be negative. Let me do the math. -18 plus 7, -11. All right. So the rest are on your other pages or videos. Check them